Former President Donald Trump, in a bold move to prevent the escalation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict into a potential World War III, engaged in a high-stakes phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin on March 18, 2025. The call, lasting for 2 hours, was initiated by Trump, who, at 78, continues to be a vocal figure on the global stage. Trump's primary objective was to broker a ceasefire, a move he believes is crucial to preventing further bloodshed and the possibility of a wider conflict. The backdrop of this call is the ongoing war in Ukraine, a conflict that has gripped the world's attention and raised fears of a global power struggle. With Russia's military actions in Ukraine showing no signs of abating, the international community has been desperate for a diplomatic solution. Trump, known for his unconventional approach to foreign policy, stepped in to attempt what many considered an impossible task: to bring Putin to the negotiating table. The call, however, was not without its share of drama. Reports indicate that Putin kept Trump waiting for an hour before finally joining the call, a move interpreted by some as a power play by the Russian leader. Nevertheless, Trump persisted, using the opportunity to propose a 30-day ceasefire, a period he hoped would pave the way for meaningful peace negotiations. Trump's decision to reach out to Putin directly, bypassing official diplomatic channels, underscores the urgency of the situation and his belief in his ability to influence the Russian leader. This move, however, has been met with mixed reactions, with some praising his initiative while others criticize it as freelancing on a sensitive international issue. During the high-stakes phone call, Trump urged Putin to consider a 30-day ceasefire, a proposal aimed at de-escalating the conflict and providing a window for negotiations. While Putin ultimately rejected the comprehensive ceasefire, he did agree to a limited halt on strikes targeting energy and infrastructure within Ukraine. This concession, though far from the overarching peace Trump sought, offered a glimmer of hope in the otherwise grim reality of the ongoing war. The limited ceasefire agreement, however, came under immediate scrutiny due to its narrow scope. Putin's agreement to solely halt attacks on energy infrastructure raised concerns about the continued vulnerability of other critical areas, including hospitals, residential zones, and humanitarian corridors. This ambiguity within the agreement, leaving room for interpretation and potential exploitation, underscored the fragility of the situation. The White House and the Kremlin released differing statements regarding the call's outcome, further highlighting the challenges in achieving a mutually agreeable path to peace. The White House statement emphasized the commencement of a peace process, focusing on the ceasefire related to energy and infrastructure. Conversely, the Kremlin's statement only acknowledged a halt on strikes targeting energy infrastructure, omitting any mention of a broader peace initiative. The discrepancy between the two statements, whether intentional or a matter of interpretation, immediately raised questions about the agreement's enforceability and the potential for misunderstanding. It underscored the deep mistrust between the parties involved and the complexities of navigating a path towards a lasting resolution. This divergence in communication emphasized the challenges inherent in trying to find common ground between two sides locked in a bitter conflict. The conflicting narratives underscored the need for clear, unambiguous communication and a shared understanding of the terms of any agreement to prevent further escalation and miscalculation. Despite the limited ceasefire agreement reached during the phone call with Trump, Russia launched attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure and hospitals just hours later. This blatant disregard for the agreement cast a dark shadow over the possibility of a diplomatic resolution and fueled concerns about Putin's true intentions. The attacks, involving over 40 drones, resulted in significant damage to critical infrastructure and civilian areas, underscoring the devastating human cost of the ongoing conflict. Ukrainian forces, while actively defending their territory, struggled to repel the relentless Russian assault. Despite their valiant efforts, the continued attacks highlighted the asymmetry of power between the two nations and the challenges Ukraine faces in defending its sovereignty. Zelensky, in his response to the situation, didn't mince words, condemning Putin's actions and labeling the ceasefire pledge as at odds with reality. He expressed deep skepticism towards Russia's commitment to de-escalation, pointing to the continued attacks as evidence of their true intentions. Zelensky's frustration and distrust were palpable, reflecting the sentiment of many Ukrainians who have borne the brunt of Russia's aggression. Zelensky's skepticism resonated with international observers, who questioned the effectiveness of any agreement that lacked robust monitoring and enforcement mechanisms. The continued attacks, despite the supposed ceasefire, raised serious doubts about Russia's willingness to abide by international norms and engage in good faith negotiations. Despite the setback of the continued Russian attacks, Trump remains steadfast in his belief that a broader peace agreement is attainable and crucial for preventing the conflict from escalating into a global war. He has publicly highlighted Russia's military advantage in certain areas of the conflict, particularly the encirclement of approximately 2,500 Ukrainian soldiers in the strategically important city of Kursk. Trump's emphasis on Russia's military superiority is not intended to condone their actions, but rather to underscore the urgency of finding a peaceful resolution. He believes that acknowledging the reality on the ground is essential in persuading both sides to make concessions and work towards a negotiated settlement. Central to Trump's peace plan is the need to address the issue of occupied territories in Ukraine. He has stated that any lasting peace agreement must involve the return of these territories to Ukrainian control, a stance that has earned him both praise and criticism. While some view it as a non-starter for Russia, others see it as a necessary condition for achieving a just and lasting peace. Trump's efforts to broker peace, while controversial, stem from his deep-seated belief that the United States should avoid entanglement in foreign conflicts unless absolutely necessary. He views the ongoing war in Ukraine as a conflict that could have been avoided, and one that carries the risk of spiraling into a global conflagration. His decision to engage directly with Putin, despite the political risks, highlights his commitment to finding a peaceful solution and preventing further bloodshed.